Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
Another temporary spending bill, another pending federal shutdown deadline. When you think about this massive amount of government spending, do you think about how this could impact you in the future? The numbers are pretty shocking, and we're going to tell you more in a minute. But thank you so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. We're so happy to have you along with us today. Here's that phone number we want you to have handy, 800-454-1184. You can call for a complimentary appointment, 800-454-1184. The other thing you can do is just type in or text the word toolbox to the same number, and you can get Eric's book, Worryless Wealth, plus a bunch of other educational materials right there at your fingertips. Just text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. And remember, you can find us online anytime at wealthcreatorradio.com. And Eric, so happy to be here with you today.
Yeah, Luann, it's been a little crazy. I had the first time ever we had a Speaker of the House get voted out. So,
I know it.
The votes only happened twice, and the first guy survived it, but that was like over 100 years ago, I think it was. And yeah, that's a new one for the country, and just shows signs of more craziness and more, the old joke, the opposite of progress is Congress.
That's good.
Yep, that's sadly we elected all these people to get things done, and they seem to not be able to do that. It's going to be another little rocky ride for a while until we get this all figured out.
And then worldly news with everything that happened in Israel, very scary stuff. So we're watching that. But it was down to the wire again, with members of Congress sending a temporary funding bill to the president's desk just hours before the federal government would shut down. So, Eric, I'm going to play some audio from Chuck Schumer and also Mitch McConnell and then get your reaction from them.
But this is a bridge CR, and Leader McConnell and I have agreed to continue fighting for more economic and security aid for Ukraine. We support Ukraine's efforts to defend its sovereignty against Putin's aggression.
Okay, that's Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. Then here's Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, and he says there is still work to do for a final spending bill later this year.
From securing supplemental relief for victims of natural disasters to restoring security and sanity at the southern border that the Biden administration has dragged into chaos, to putting stronger restraints on the president's reckless spending, to supplying Ukraine with even more of the lethal assistance it needs to repel Russia's invasion.
So, with all that, your reaction?
Yeah, well, it's the same old stuff, right? The Congress not getting things done. They're battling all these things and coming down to the wire, and it's like, these are all fake crises in terms of obviously not Ukraine and stuff, but the debt ceiling and all these things. If they got their job done on time, we wouldn't be doing this. This is kind of like your kid freaking out because he's got a report to and he has to get all this stuff. It's like, well, why didn't you do this ahead of time, right? And I mean, we've all been there, right? We've all been in school where you cram for the last minute and stuff. But for us, when we don't get our homework done, it just means you get a bad grade. For Congress, it means people don't get paid. People can't go buy stuff. That means the military doesn't get paid. The government workers that aren't usually very high paid in the first place don't get paid, right? So, it's one of these things where it's always a short term hampering on the markets and the economy, but then it usually comes right back up. So, that part, of course, isn't as bad. Now, all the wars and stuff are definitely a lot worse. And I do think we need to keep supporting freedom and all that. So, we'll have to see how this all plays out because of, unfortunately, there's not any leadership from either side really stepping up to say, hey, here's how we're going to balance the budget. Here's how we're going to cut spending. The Trump administration spent a ton. Some of that was COVID related, obviously. And Biden administration really hasn't done much difference. So it's not really what's Democrat or Republican. Right. It's just nobody's stepping up to take charge. And so what is that going to do to your financial future. I mean, one of the things that there was an article just recently about the interest on the national debt. That one's pretty scary because it's saying that it should triple from almost 500 billion to 1.4 trillion. And, that's a huge number.
Yeah.
And that was saying by 2032, but actually I think it'd be even faster because of the fact that the interest rates have been shooting up so much. So, that's one of the things that when one of your major budget items is just interest. And interest doesn't go help anybody, right? That's just paying back, not even paying back our bills. It's just, paying for what we owed in the past and still haven't even paid for the price. So, what that tells me as a financial advisors, you need to make sure you have some money that's not open to taxes, like 401ks, IRAs. Those are open to tax law changes. And, that's one of the things that I think people need to be paying a lot more attention to.
The threat of a federal shutdown always is big in the media, right? But honestly, analysts are saying the whole long-term economic impact of our government closure really is going to be minimal. So let's talk about how you guide people through events that can cause kind of a lot of chaos, but even if it's only temporary.
Yeah, well, this is one of those things where doesn't matter in 6 months, a year, 5 years, right? The guy who cut you off on the freeway, right, or whatever. A week later, does it matter? A month later, does it? No. So don't play into it. Don't react. Maybe turn off the news. That's sometimes a good thing. So really, you don't want to make permanent long-term decisions based on this. And really, what you want to do is see how your position, see where your money's at. And I think one thing that we are definitely seeing with all this conflict really in Congress is the fact that there isn't going to be any great spending pattern set up. And so they're just going to keep spending money. They're going to not be balancing the budget. And that means anything that's open to taxes is going to be a big issue. And so you need to learn how to, if your financial advisor is not talking to you about how to lower your tax bill, how to save money on taxes, if your tax person isn't telling you how to lower, not this year, over your lifetime, we need to be talking about lowering your taxes over your lifetime on your retirement plans. And that's, I think, the key thing to be paying attention to, because if that's what all this chaos is going to be, really happening, and hurting people. So, with all these huge payments and with all these expenses, what do you need? Well, you need to have a plan. And so we've built a great toolbox of great information up there. Really, are you paying too much taxes in retirement, which is probably the big one I'd be focused on right now. Also, my book, Worry Less Wealth. And even if you want to set up a 15 to 30 minute phone call with us, all you got to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or request it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And you are listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. So, Eric, because of this massive amount of government debt, most analysts are thinking our country's not going to be able to dig out of this hole without any drastic measures. I think the same thing, So, we're going to have higher taxes, obviously. How do you talk to people about this?
It should be number one thing that people really should be thinking about when they're getting close to retirement and planning, and especially, actually, to be honest, even if you're younger, you should be really, really thinking about it. But if you're under 50, you should only be funding Roth 401k or Roth IRA, anything that you can to avoid taxes. There's overfunded life insurance. There's lots of great tools out there that you can use if you know how to use them, if you know what the pros and cons are. A lot of the people that come talk to us who are making that shift into retirement, this is a huge deal because of the tax bill is going to be monstrous. And when you look at the cumulative tax bill, that's what I really focus on, is how much tax they're going to be paying between, say, now and age 85. And if we can notch that down by $500,000 or $1 million or more, that's a huge thing. I mean, I just looked at one person who had a bunch of money in savings in a bank, and just by moving that money from a bank CD to a tax deferred tool product, that saved them over $400,000 in just 20 years. And that was so there was that was just a super simple one. I mean, that was not even something like Roth conversions and other things like that. So there's a lot of things that you can be doing right now to save money on taxes and avoid the taxes permanently, or at least not have to have you pay them. And so, that's what you need. You need to have a plan. You need to know not only just your income and your investments, but how the taxes interrelate with all that. And that's what we do when we build the blueprint to worry less wealth. And, it's something we can do for you. We've got a way to set up a time to talk there at our toolbox. And we've got a lot of great other quick reads about taxes and Social Security decisions, all the things you need to think about when you're going to retire. So all you got to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
All right. We do have to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more from Eric and Wealth Creator Radio.
Are we headed towards a recession? If so, how will your retirement be impacted? With so much uncertainty on the horizon, the decisions you make today can have a huge impact on your financial future. When should you take Social Security? How will you reduce the impact of inflation? Are you comfortable with the amount of risk you're taking with your savings? Join Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial for an informational webinar where he'll discuss these factors and more. Spots are filling up fast though, so claim yours now. Go to wealthcreatorwebinar.com to find the day and time that work best for you. That's wealthcreatorwebinar.com. Don't let a recession or whatever the future holds dictate your retirement dreams. Sign up now for this free and informational webinar with Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial. Go to wealthcreatorwebinar.com. That's wealthcreatorwebinar.com. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor.
You're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer, and the mission of Heckman Financial is to get you to and through a worryless wealth retirement. And, as we do approach retirement, we are headed into some unknown territory. We've been working 30, 40 years in our careers, and all of a sudden we face retirement, and it's a whole new world. And Eric, I kind of want to break into the Aladdin song. It's a whole new world. I know you had boys, but I don't know if you ever saw the Aladdin show where they're on the carpet and they're singing.
They all did theater. They all did a lot of theater. So yeah, they would go along with it.
It's a whole new world. It's different than our parents and our grandparents. So we're going to talk about some helpful ways to protect our retirement income. But first, I want you to tell us how retirement has changed.
Well, the probably biggest one, of course, is the good old pension, right?
Yeah.
And unless you're around here, maybe a long time Lockheed or Northrop, or you work for the government, or a teacher or something like that. Those still have some pensions, public safety people, but for the most part, most of us, no more pensions, right? No more 25 years, get the gold watch and have that money for the rest of your life, and you can kick back on the rocking chair and hang out or whatever. Now, a lot of us don't want to kick back on the rocking chair because that just sounds really boring, especially to me. I hate just sitting on the beach. That's horrible. I want to go and be in the waves or do something. So, it's definitely changed. But I think that's probably the number one thing is that income security. And now, sadly enough, anybody who logs onto their Social Security statement at, you can go to ssa.gov, get one of those statements, the Social Security Administration statements that they used to mail you, and now they've gone paperless. And, you go there and they have that little thing that says, usually around 2035 or something, it changes a lot, but, that there's going to be a point where they can only pay 80 or 79% of their payments. And that's scary, right? Because not only do you not have a pension, but now there's some sort of question mark at some point in Social Security payments. So yeah, that's changed a lot because it's all you now. It's nobody else, right?
Right. Here's the deal. We do not know the date of our finish line, right? And so we don't know what that journey in retirement is going to be like, whether it's going to be 40, 50 years or shorter or full of, issues with health and all that. So tell us how you help your clients develop more confidence and clarity that their money is going to last no matter what happens.
Yeah, and that's always kind of a moving target, right? Because like you said, there's no finish line. There is a finish line. It's kind of, I don't know if it's a finish line or an end line, right? So it's kind of like a game over line, I guess, maybe almost a better thing. But hopefully that game over is quite the ways down, right? And so that journey through that game till it finally ends. Yeah. How do you make sure you've got enough? How do you make sure that that's going to keep going? And And then also, how do you fit other goals in? Like, I had one client that, they've really had a dream of buying a beach house, and they've done a really fantastic job of saving and building up money. And, one thing is they didn't have kids, which saves you a ton of money.
Doesn't it,
I had 3 of them. And, we said, okay, hey, let's run some numbers. And so we kept going back and forth, and now they were able to see that, they could buy a beach house, and it's not going to, kill their retirement dreams and stuff. And, they may not want to retire early because it might be a little tougher. And so that's the cool thing, is when you can see that and you can test it and you can model it and know it's there with taxes, inflation, everything all in there. What that tool is actually called is an income plan. And it's got to be written. It's got to be something that you can update every single year. And it's got to account for, like I said, everything: income tax, inflation, all your spending. If you retire early, how you're going to pay for healthcare. Then make sure you remember to account for healthcare 65 on. All those types of issues need to be in that plan. And then, of course, you have to figure out, how do I invest, not for accumulation anymore, but how do I invest for money, right? I got to turn those dollars into paychecks now, or what we like to call playchecks, right? How do I have money to play with? And so now you need to make sure you have some foundational assets, because you can't afford to just say, oh, I'm not going to take money out this year. Well, if you're retired, you don't have a choice, right? You need to keep spending money and living. And so you can't just wait for the market to recover. So that's why you need some foundational guaranteed money. You need some of that steady income money. It's always paying you cash flow. That's not, beholden to all the market whims, and then have the remainder in the market. But you can't be invested like how it was when you were working, because you can't have 100% of your money in the market. That's too scary, too crazy, and too all over the place. So, that's how we help people do that. And our process is called building the blueprint to worry less wealth. So we do that income plan, do that investment plan, and then more importantly, throw in the tax planning around that. I mean, we are not somebody who says, oh, go talk to somebody else about taxes. That's stupid, I think. So, you got to be able to talk about income, investments, and the tax ramifications of everything in there. And then, of course, cover healthcare. How's that going to be spending, and what's that going to be like? And then legacy. Make sure all those beneficiaries are up and running the right way, and make sure your people you like get the money, not the government, not the attorneys. Again, this is something that we've been doing for radio listeners. We've been waiving our $1,500 planning fee and just saying, hey, let's just go ahead and get this planning done. We'll show you what path you're on, because everybody has an income plan. Even if they don't know where they're headed, you're headed someplace. And then we'll show you, that course. And then at the end of that second meeting, when we show you that income plan and that investment, healthcare, tax, legacy plan, then we'll say, here's some issues you need to fix. And then at that point, that's when you decide if you want to work with us or not. But again, this is so critical for people. If you want to just take some time out of your day and say, hey, let's get this done. Let's make sure I'm taken care of, because I'm the most important person to me, right? Always. Then you can take care of your loved ones and everybody else. We have a lot of tools up in our toolbox. And that's one of the things that you can request. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, or you can call and leave a message to request the toolbox. That's at 800-454-1184. Again, you can text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or you can download all the resources there at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And again, this toolbox is complimentary. So this is just a way to honestly transform your worries of retirement into confidence. So all you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, 800-454-1184. Just text that word toolbox, something that we want you to get free of charge. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. So thanks for joining us. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. And Eric, I've told you before, my husband and I are a perfect example of a couple who did it all wrong. We were one of those people who said, oh, well, when we have extra money, we'll start saving for retirement. We were just spending, doing everything when the kids were younger. But now here we both are, 60s and looking retirement in the eye. If we came to you today wanting to retire, you would have to tell us, well, you got a little shortfall, probably have to work the rest of your life. I don't think we're alone, but how do you help people like us?
Yeah, so I mean, it's always fun when I can say, hey, your money's going to last for the rest of your life, no problem, everything looks great, you're on track. Yeah, but that doesn't always happen. And so, a lot of times, I've had some people that had really literally I had one person who, she had been divorced and had some other setbacks and stuff, but she wanted to have $7,000 a month. So that's $84,000 a year. And she had saved up $120,000.
Oh, dear. A little short.
So it's like, have you done any math? I mean, you don't have to be a mathematician to really know that, that withdrawal rate, okay, 2 years later,
That's it.
Okay, maybe once you have Social Security, maybe you only have to take out half, so maybe you can last 4 years. I mean, it's not enough, right? And so, that's when you have to figure out, okay, what else can you do? Can you, if you own a house, can you get a reverse mortgage and pay off that mortgage? And then maybe you don't need $7,000, maybe you only need $4,000 a month now, right? I mean, there's lots of things, a lot of creative things you can do, but lots of times the answer may be that you got to work a little bit longer. And, that sucks. That's not as fun, but, that might be the reality. The other thing is maybe you also get a job for fun, something that a client who moved up to Bend, Oregon, and that was her big goal was she'd been working at HP for 30 plus years and was just so burnt out. She just wanted a job that, at 5 o'clock, she's off work. She doesn't think about work until she shows up at 9 the next day. So not something she was at home emailing crazy and doing stuff and all that. And so, so that's the big deal of trying to figure out how you're going to do that. And, it's really a lot of it's about how's money going to last. So one of the things we have developed is this toolbox here that we have. So we've got a lot of resources up there. We've got a copy of my book. We've got a lot of educational materials that you can pick and select from and just download. So again, if that's something you want to grab, super easy. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, or you can even call and leave a message for toolbox, but text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, that's 800-454-1184, or you can download it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Don't you think if you had $1 million saved, that would be enough to retire comfortably? Eric tells us otherwise.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio.
And that's how it's done.
That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
We're so glad to have you with us today. This is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. Eric is an independent financial advisor. Heckman Financial is an independent firm, and that means they're going to put you first, and their focus will be on helping you make decisions for your own situation so you can worry less in retirement. That's their goal for you. We have for you a Wealth Creator Toolbox that you can get complimentary, which includes his book and a whole bunch of other educational reports that can guide you with retirement. All you have to do is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, 800-454-1184. Just text that word toolbox. Now, becoming a millionaire is kind of a benchmark for all Americans. I've always thought, if only I could save $1 million. But is that even enough to retire with? And Eric, were you a fan of the Austin Powers movies with Dr. Evil in it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
Definitely.
My husband can quote Austin Powers big time. But remember when he wanted to put the world up for ransom at $1 million?
Right. Yep.
And the world leaders just laughed at him because $1 million wasn't what it had been before he'd been frozen in time. To me, $1 million is a lot. I think I'd be good with that. But is that enough to retire on? And how do you help your clients determine how much is enough for their situation?
Yeah, well, I'm always scared for people who have a set dollar amount, right? Because of that exact reason. I remember for some reason I was, you were mentioning, Austin Powers and Mike Myers, but
yeah,
when I was a kid, it was more Michael J. Fox and his business-minded character that he had.
Yeah,
and
he was Alex or something. Yeah,
Alex Keaton. Yeah, and so looking at that, and I just remember back then. If you made $100,000, I mean, gosh, $100,000, you'd be so wealthy at that time.
I know.
and now at Stanford, I think it's up to $125,000. If your family makes less than that and you get into Stanford, you don't have to pay tuition.
Oh, wow.
So I mean, that's how far that number's flipped. And I mean, the other one is Bare Naked Ladies has a song about if I had $1 million. Well, then Bruno Mars comes out with, I want to be a billionaire, right? So, that just tells you the inflation just in songwriting, goals, right? So that's how much things change. So the hard part is, you may get to that goal of that number that you had, but what if that goal really sucks in once you get there, right? So that can be scary if that's the number, because what if you shot really low and you get there and then you find you don't have enough money to to survive or to have the standard of living that you wanted, right? So a lot of times people use a 4% rule, but math is so much easier at 5%. Yeah, if you guys aren't really good at math, the easiest thing is usually you can do 10%, which move the decimal point over, right? And then cut it in half, and that's 5%. So, $1 million, move the decimal point over, it's $100,000, cut it in half, 50,000. Mm-hmm. So $1 million, if you weren't trying to spend the principal and you could earn average 5%, you could be getting about $50,000 a year. So, that's $4,000, a month, right? It's not too bad. But of course, then you have to see how much are you spending, right? And how much are you getting Social Security? Are you trying to retire early? So that may or may not work depending on your spending level. I mean, I've met some people that have paid off their house that love to garden and they don't do much outside. They're just very, whatever you want to call it, homebodies, and they love that kind of lifestyle. And they can live on, $3,000-4,000 a month. So $1 million for them is probably fine. But there's other people who want to do a ton of travel. They want to do fun stuff. They want to go see the world. They want to have dinner in nice restaurants and stuff. And they're wondering how they can only get by on $10,000 a month. Right. So if you're somebody like that, the $1 million's not going to be enough. So yeah, I think it's better if you have an income plan and you're looking at that income plan and saying, okay, if I need to spend this much money a month, because that's what I'm living on now, or that's this lifestyle I want, how much do I need to have saved up for that? Because also there's some tools that can guarantee your money for the rest of your life. Well, those tools sometimes can pay out 6 or 7% because they're paying out your principal and interest, but they're guaranteed they can't run out. Well, if you're using some of these tools, then your money can last maybe way, way, way longer. And so, by good planning and using everything that's out there financially, that's really the better key. Again, that's why we set up that blueprint to worry less wealth. And what we do is we have a first talk where we just find out what you're worried about, what your concerns. And then we set up a second meeting where we actually show you the path you're on today. And that's up to you if you want to work with us or not. So again, there's no cost. We're waiving that $1,500 planning fee to radio listeners. So 800-454-1184. Again, 800-454-1184. Or you can book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And again, thank you for listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. So, Eric, what would you say are some lessons we could learn from retirements in the past? Maybe some common mistakes we should try to avoid?
Well, the number one biggest issue is the fancy term is sequence of returns. But I basically call it luck. And luck is a very hard tool to master. Right? Because there's no rhyme or reason to it. So, one of the things we use lots of times in if we're doing talks or educational webinars, and you can go to wealthcreatorradio.com and see what things we have upcoming. But one of the things we often will talk about is having one portfolio where somebody took the money out in the 90s, and then that same person a different person took that same money out of that same portfolio in the 2000s. And the difference, this is of a $500,000 portfolio. The difference after 10 years is over $1 million difference in value on 500.
Grief. Oh.
So in other words, one was almost out of money and one had made money. And this is with the same investment. You go, hold it. The same investment, one person had tons of money and one person had almost no money. How can that be? Because, it's supposed to be who's the best advisor, or who's got the best tools, or who's got the best trading stuff, right? You see all that junk on TV, or, here I'm going to log on to Robinhood and make all this money, or I'm going to do all this day trading and make all this. It's not the investment tools. It was literally the luck of the draw of what were the returns when that person was withdrawing money, because the rules change monstrously when you're withdrawing versus accumulating. Because when you're accumulating the money, ups and downs don't matter because you didn't take anything out. When you're taking it out, it makes a monster difference. So I think the biggest mistake that people don't realize and don't know enough about is the fact that you're going to most likely be retired for 3 decades. And statistically speaking, if you look at a lot of the past decades, we've had some good ones and some bad ones, but typically about every decade out of 3 decades is bad. So the luck factor is, do you get that bad decade the first, the second, or the third decade? Obviously, it's very best to have it in the third decade. But if you have in that first one, you can't all of a sudden unretire and go back to work when you're in your 70s, right? You have to have a plan, and you have to have some other assets, some stuff that's guaranteed, some stuff that pays some steady income. If you have it all market money, you are pretty much guaranteed not to have a great, successful retirement, because you're going to have that bad decade at some point. And what's that going to do? So I think that's probably the number one common mistake that people don't learn from is, or don't know enough about, is the fact that they need to have some other planning for when they withdraw versus accumulate.
So then here's the deal. How do you help people build a retirement plan that's designed to stand the test of time, no matter what challenges they face?
Well, it's all about having options, right? I was a scout, and all my boys were in scouts, and I'm still scout leader. I'll someday get out of it.
I don't know. Then you'll have grandkids.
Yeah, after 15, 20 years, maybe. And one of the big things there, of course, is be prepared, right? And, so you want to have options. And to me, the biggest, scariest thing is anybody who has 100% of their money all in the market, so stocks and bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, if they have 100% of the money in the market, when things go bad, they have 0 options. There is no, it's really what you're doing is you're saying, okay, which one was the best because it lost the least? I'm going to sell that, which makes no sense. Because that's kind of like getting rid of your star player because your team's been losing. But you don't want to get rid of the worst thing because it's the one that lost the worst, but that's usually where you should go. So really what you want to do is have some options, have some alternatives. And, that's one of the things that we can do here at Heckman Financial and stuff. So, if you want to, again, get that toolbox, get some information there. And then if you wanted to reach out, or if you have somebody in that situation, definitely have them get a hold of us and we can help them a lot. Again, you can either text the word toolbox or just call and request it at 800-454-1184. Again, that's toolbox, 800-454-1184, or request it directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Take advantage of the special offer from Eric and his team. Get some help with your retirement planning. We are not done yet. We'll be right back with more of Wealth Creator Radio.
Are we headed towards a recession? If so, how will your retirement be impacted? With so much uncertainty on the horizon, the decisions you make today can have a huge impact on your financial future. When should you take Social Security? How will you reduce the impact of inflation? Are you comfortable with the amount of risk you're taking with your savings? Join Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial for an informational webinar where he'll discuss these factors and more. Spots are filling up fast though, so claim yours now. Go to wealthcreatorwebinar.com to find the day and time that work best for you. That's wealthcreatorwebinar.com. Don't let a recession or whatever the future holds dictate your retirement dreams. Sign up now for this free and informational webinar with Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial. Go to wealthcreatorwebinar.com. That's wealthcreatorwebinar.com. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. You're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman, and he is here to offer you a chance to help you with your retirement strategy. Together, you can look at your income, your investments, your tax strategies, healthcare plan, legacy plan, all these things we talk about on our show, and you need to have a plan for that. One way to do it, get our toolbox, no cost. Just text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. So, Eric, I thought it'd be fun now to get into some questions from retirees or pre-retirees and dig into our Wealth Creator mailbag for you, okay?
Sounds great.
All right, here's the first question. This is from Rose. Rose says, a few weeks ago, I heard you mention a plan for catastrophic illness in retirement on your show. I wasn't able to catch the entire thing. Could you talk about that again and explain what we need to do?
Well, this is something that I think financial advisors and definitely clients and pretty much all of us ignore, don't want to talk about, just do the ostrich plan, right? Just stick your head under the sand and hope it goes away. But my dad actually had joked in the past that he would most likely die in a small room with a chair and a TV, basically meaning, some sort of care place.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that's where he's at. And it's $9,000 a month. That drains savings very fast. And so, that's one of the things that we all have to pay for it at some way or another, right? One is you self-insure, so you use up all your assets until you have none, and then, you go on to, government aid, or you offset it with some sort of other people's money, meaning insurance, right? It's one of those two that's going to happen. And the stats when I first joined the industry were around 50% were the odds of somebody needing care. That's the last I saw that went up over 70%.
Wow.
And so what used to kill you, now they just give you a pill for, but makes you not, unfortunately, not be able to get around as much maybe. So that's when you need help. And so that's one of the things more and more people need. Long-term care policies, the problem is those rates aren't guaranteed. So they've been having huge increases. I mean, I've had clients get 100%, 30%. One got a 268% increase over 3 years, which was just terrible. Insane. And these are policies they bought 10, 15, 20 years ago that they thought were going to always be the same rate. And so I like a lot of these other alternative assets. There's some that are tied to life insurance, where with life insurance laws, you cannot change the rates. Once you have to what they call unilateral contract, where once you sign up for it, they can't do anything to change certain parameters. And so those are a lot better ways to do it. And they're pretty affordable, and, they give you some great benefits. So, again, this is something that, as much as we like to ignore it and not want to talk about it, you do need to have a plan for it, because there's pretty high odds it'll happen. But depending on which tool you use, like the life insurance options, those ones can be great, because if you never need it, hey, somebody gets extra money. So
there you go.
It's tax-free. So, hey, it works either direction.
All right. So if you have your own questions about long-term care or just any type of health care and retirement, Eric and his team are here for you. 800-454-1184 is the number that you can call for a complimentary appointment or phone conversation. So here's another question for you as we dig into our mailbag. This is from Sheila. She says, if we aren't sure we're getting the right guidance to help protect our income from retirement risks like market risk, healthcare costs, taxes, and inflation, what should we do?
Well, the same thing as you would do if you weren't sure of the advice you're getting from a doctor, right? Get a second opinion. So pretty simple, pretty easy answer. Yeah, no, I would definitely make sure that anybody you're talking with, if you're just doing it on your own on a website, what other parameters they're using? How much tax knowledge does that thing have, that website? And what kind of other experiences are they relating to you? Because of lots of times people, it's more about experience, I find, than it is about the raw numbers, right? So there's a lot more reality behind the math, and the math works one way, but the reality of how things happen work very differently quite often. So yeah, you want to have some money in foundational money, so stuff that can't go away, stuff that in those bad years, you can raid those dollars from there and live on and not have to worry about your standard of living. But in the good years, you have to take the money from the market money. And then in between, you want to have some steady income money that's constantly paying you some dividends and income. And of course, you have to have a healthcare plan. You have to have plans for inflation. Even, we were planning for inflation for, 20 years before inflation hit, right? Yeah. And before it spiked. But you've always had that in the plan. So, yeah, I think really that means it's definitely time for just to shop around. One of the things we even have on our main website is even how to compare financial advisors and how to check out their background. You can do that to me included. So, and I would definitely, sit down and either on the phone, just talk with somebody, get your questions answered and see if that makes, that could be a fit. And one of the things that we have in that Toolbox website is a link to set a time to talk. So that is one of the things that if you wanted to do that, you just text the word Toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word Toolbox, 800-454-1184. Not only does that have my book, but it has a lot of really quick reads of 10 to 15 page stuff. Will your money last as long as you do? Are you making the right Social Security decision? All these great resources. So, definitely take some time, learn about your situation and learn about what's out there. And, then you can make a more informed decision.
Okay, love it. And again, you're listening to Wealth Creator Radio. We're digging into our Wealth Creator Radio mailbag today. Here's a question from a guy. This is Dale. He says, how much would you recommend I set aside every year for retirement if I'm planning to retire in 10 years?
Well, it doesn't matter really when. You should really be setting aside, well, always 15% of your income, really. And if you can, get up to 20. So maybe if he's not done very well, maybe he should try to get hit to 20 if he can. But, you want some of that, especially when you're younger, to be going to, first, just emergency funds and savings, right? And some shorter term money. But after that, it should always be retirement. Even when you're young, you should probably be putting ideally around 10% away to retirement, just because that's a lot easier, and compounding effect of money over 10, 20, 30, 40 years is huge. When you only have 10 years left, it gets a lot tougher to get that build up. So for somebody like that, definitely 15 to 20% needs to be the number to have a successful retirement.
Okay, very good. Yeah, I just heard my son-in-law and my daughter talking about, we need to put more into our retirement account, and they're like 31 and they need to buy a car. They want to. That's on their wish list. But he just said, we're putting in for retirement. And I was happy to hear that. So, all right, here's another question for you from Doug. Doug says, can you talk about what goes into a written financial strategy for retirement? I would like something like a checklist to help make sure that I have everything covered. Oh, we have that, don't we, Eric?
Yep. Yeah. So I was going to say, Doug, it's a good time to bring up the checklist, but since we do have one. But for my process, we actually really focus on the 5 areas that everybody needs to have a written plan for. So the first one would be obviously having an written income plan is the most important thing. How are you going to get money for retirement? How long is it going to last? What's the tax effect of every single bucket of money, right? So your IRAs, your 401ks, your Roth, your regular investments, savings, all those things. How do they all interplay with each other? Social Security and taxes and everything. So you want to have that income, investment. How's that going to, how those dollars invested for that income, and then taxes, because those 3 are all super related. Obviously, the other big 2 would be healthcare and legacy. Who gets your money when you're gone? And so, one of the things we did actually set up is a checklist that kind of goes through what items that you should have some sort of plan for. And, if you're younger, there may be a little bit lower score. But, if you're one of those people who likes to take those little self-assessments or, give yourself a score, right, and see where you're at, that's what the checklist can do for you. But once you do that checklist, you could also set up a time to even talk with us and kind of get that data and figure out, okay, am I on the right track? And we used to charge a fee for going through the blueprint, but we don't even charge a fee now. So we've been just giving that information to people, really just betting on our time that if we help you enough that, you want us to help you, I should say. Yeah. That you want us to help you implement that income plan, implement those changes to those investments, and make sure you can save money on taxes, not just this year, but all the years. So there's a lot of great stuff to go into that process, but I would highly recommend just start with a checklist, and that's an easy way to go. And so the easiest way to get that checklist is to just text the word checklist to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word checklist 800-454-1184, or download it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
All right. We have to take another break, but we're not done yet. We'll be right back with the rest of our show. You're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman.
Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
Hi, this is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. Eric is president at Heckman Financial, where their mission is to get you to and through a worry-less wealth retirement. And that is why Eric does this show every week. Now, we have come to the time in our show where Eric gives us a wealth success story. So I love this because it's really a lesson that kind of gives us an example to see how things have worked out for the better for retirees. So Eric, I'm excited to see what you have for us today.
This is about a client named Larry and his wife, Mindy, and they were downsizing. And so they moved down to the Monterey Peninsula area and, helped them through the whole house sale and the taxes on that and everything. And then he was retiring at the same time. And this was a few years back. And so right as he was retiring, that next year is when he had to start doing his required minimum distributions. But his wife, Mindy's a lot younger, so we were starting to do Roth conversions and do more. She didn't have as much in IRA. And the neat thing now is since they also extended that age from 70 and a half to 72, and now it's all the way up to 73 for people who are before 1960 and 75 for after. Now she had till 73, and this year was her last year that she was able to convert everything that she had to Roth. Wow. And so the neat thing is, thankfully, due to that extension she got, that we were able to not have her have a required minimum distribution ever in her lifetime. Now, they've been having to take it out of his, and that they'll always have to do that. He had a lot more saved up. But the nice thing is, at least now she doesn't have to paying the taxes on that. So that's really money for their two daughters that are both starting to finish up school. And, they're actually both going into nursing. So kind of interesting. But so the neat thing, though, is we had the time to plan, mainly because of the law change. And now I think if people, had they come to me a little before when he was about to retire right away, that we could have even done some more for him and such. So I think that's probably one of the big things to be thinking about is looking at most people say, oh, I don't want to do a Roth conversion because I have to pay tax today. Well, this is not necessarily for their kids in reality. If they had waited and converted even, had more taxes, let that money grow, they would have been probably in a higher tax bracket when they were taking out all that extra money for her. And so really what we're talking about is if you're going to take money out, say 24% bracket now and 24% bracket later, then all that growth would be tax-free if you convert it. So lots of times people they just think, oh, no, I don't have to pay the tax. Well, one of that growth takes you now into the 32% bracket. And you did great on your investments, did really good in your retirement account. And guess what? Now you're going to pay a ton more tax. When you go from from 24 to 32, that's a 25% increase in taxes. People go, oh, it's an 8% change in bracket. No, that's 25% more tax on those other dollars. So, that's what we're trying to avoid. And again, that's what we want to help you do. So, if that's something you're interested in, you want to see how you can pay less tax, you're serious about taking some action, set up a time, 15 to 30-minute phone call with us, or just download our great tools at the Wealth Creator Toolbox by texting the word Toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word Toolbox 800-454-1184 or download directly to wealthcreatorradio.com. That's all for this week. Thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.